Hello, viewers. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this session. I am going to talk about and explain the text of the scholar Gypsy from stanza number 19 onwards. I have already discussed stanza number 1 to 18. Today, I discuss stanza number 19. Yes, we wait it, but it still delays, and then we suffer, and amongst us one who most has suffered takes dejectedly his seat upon the intellectual throne. In this stanza of the scholar Gypsy, the speaker says that the scholar Gypsy leads a different life from the life of the modern people and the life of the Victorians. He says that the modern people wait. Yes, we wait. We also wait. We also wait for life. We also wait for the good time to come. We also wait for the spark to come from heaven. But it still delays. We delay much. The opportune time passes away. And then we suffer. As a result, we suffer. We do not get what the scholar Gypsy has got. And amongst us one, and there is one, or there was one amongst us. Who was that one? That was the scholar Gypsy, the German scholar who left Oxford University to join a band of gypsies and spread his wisdom, spread a spirituality all over the world. Who most has suffered takes dejectedly his seat upon the intellectual throne. The scholar Gypsy takes his seat upon the intellectual throne, upon the throne of intellect, upon the throne of wisdom, knowledge, spirituality, etc. And all the store of sad experiences he lays bare of wretched days. The scholar Gypsy tells the store of his sad experiences. He lays bare them clearly before the people. He lays bare of wretched days, the stories of the wretched days, the incidents of the wretched days. Tell us his misery's birth and growth and signs. The scholar Gypsy tells us the story of his miseries, his sorrows, his sufferings, his bitter experiences, misery's birth and growth and signs, and how the dying spark of hope was fed. And thus the dying spark of hope was fade. Dying spark of hope was survived. Dying spark of hope was lit to continue to get better and better, brighter and brighter. And how the breast was soothed, and how the head and all his hourly varied anodynes uh, and how the breast was soothed. The breast of a scholar gypsy was happy, soothed. How the head and all his hourly varied anodynes, all his uh, experiences, all his stories, all his tales are told in a beautiful way to make the world better and better every day. Thus, in this stanza, we have the contrast between the life of the scholar gypsy and the life of the modern people and that of the Victorians. Now, let me talk about the next stanza number 20. These for our wisest and we others pine, and with the long and happy dream would end. We pine, we others pine, and wish the long and happy dream would end. We wish that our long and happy dream will come to an end. They will go away and waive all claim to bliss and try to bear. And we waive all claim. We leave all claim. We give up all claim to have bliss, to have happiness, and try to beat and try to bear with close lipped patience for our only friend. We waive all claim to bliss and try to bear with close lipped patience for our only friend, for our only help. Sad patience too near, never to despair, but none has hope like thine. We wait, we hope, but none of us have hope like that of the scholar gypsy, like thine, like yours, like that of a scholar gypsy. Though thou the field and through the woods dost stray, though the scholar gypsy passes through the field, the hills, valleys, through the woods, but he roaming the countryside, he roams in the countryside of Oxford. He haunts the countryside of Oxford. A truant boy. He is a truant boy. A truant boy means a boy who left Oxford early, who could not complete his study at Oxford. A truant boy means a boy who gives up his school, who leaves his school without obtaining degree. So the scholar gypsy is said to be a truant boy, truant scholar, because he left Oxford without obtaining degree from there, and he joined a band of gypsies to spread knowledge, to spread wisdom, to spread a spirituality all over the world. Truant boy, nursing thy project in unclouded joy, and he nurtured his project of joy, happiness, and every dot long blown by time away. And the scholar gypsy has no doubt at all. He is clear minded. He has one aim, one business, one desire. He does not fluctuate from his right way, right path. So he gets success in life. Next stanza number 21. Oh, born in days when wits were fresh and clear. The scholar gypsy is said to have been born in the days of fresh wits and clear vision, clear knowledge, and life ran gaily as the sparkling Thames. Those days, the life was very bright, the life ran as beautiful, as gaily, as happily as a sparkling water in the Thames River of England. Before this strange disease of modern life, the strange disease of modern life was not caused then. The scholar gypsy appeared before the coming of the strange disease of modern life, which inflicts all the modern people, all the Victorians, all the people of even today, with its sick hurry, its divided aims. Nowadays, people are in sick hurry. They are not ready to stop even for a moment in a critical time. They are in a sick hurry. They are in such a hurry as if they are sick, as if they are going to be hospitalized. They are going to be going to doctors for treatment. Sick hurry. With its sick hurry, its divided aims. Modern people do not have one aim, one business, one desire. They have varieties of aims, varieties of businesses, varieties of dreams. So they have failure in life, while the scholar gypsy had success and success and success. Its heads overtaxed, its palsied hearts was rife. The heads of modern people are overtaxed. They are vexed with different problems, different worries. They are not in peace. Its palsied hearts, their hearts are palsied, their hearts are insensitive. They do not listen to the hearts of others. It seems that their hearts are seized, their hearts are palsied. Palsied hearts was rife, and it was full of unpleasant things. It was full of painful things, sorrowful things, things that gives stress, trouble. Fly hence our contact fear. The speaker says to the scholar gypsy, fly here, fly from here, you fly from here, O scholar gypsy, fly from here, fly from our contaminated contact, from contact which will infect you too. So fly, go away from our contact. Still fly, plunge deeper in the bobbering wood. He says that a scholar gypsy should fly from here and he should go deeper and deeper into the bobbering wood, into the bobbering forest, into the deep of the forest. Adverse as did with gesture stern, from the false friends approach in heads turn, wave us away and keep thy solitude. Here the poet refers to a Greek god, Dido, who is known for astern, who with gesture astern from her false friend fled away, went away, approached in head stern, and he and Dido reached in Hades, wave us away and keep thy solitude. The scholar gypsy waves us away and he keeps his solitude in the woods, in the forest, and continues to spread his wisdom, spirituality, knowledge to the world. I think, students, you must have understood these three stanzas well. You can explain them very well in the examination. Thanks a lot.